Welcome to the virtual coffee lab. My name is Mike, and today we are going to be roasting on the Behmor 1600 Plus coffee roaster, and we're going to roast a half a pound of El Salvador Pacamera. So let's get to it. Thanks for joining me today. We're going to do things a little different with the Pacamera. We're going to actually roast it manually on the Behmor. So instead of using the auto mode, we're going to do a manual mode, and I'll show you how to do that. The first thing I wanted to do is spend just a half a minute and show you some of the features of the Behmor 1600 Plus. The control panel, which gives me the ability to change the drum speed, check the temperatures, set the roast profile, or manually determine the temperature if I want to do that. Inside the Behmor, we have a chaff collector, and we have the drum, and it takes a little finagling to get out. We're going to take 8 ounces of this El Salvador Pacamera, and we're going to go ahead and put it in here. That's the one thing about the Behmor, is it's a little challenging at times to get the drum in. But we've got the drum in, and we'll go ahead and put the chaff collector in. That's in position. And just so you can see how this works, 1 pound P5 start. And then you can see the drum starting to turn here. By me pressing the P5 and the P5 blinking, I'm in the manual mode. So I've chose to set this at a 1 pound setting. So I chose 1 pound, even though I've only got a half a pound in here, because it's going to give me the most time. It's going to give me 18 minutes. If I were to have chosen a half a pound, which that's the actual amount of coffee that I'm roasting, it would have only given me 12 minutes. But the Behmor is slow to roast, and so I need as much time as possible. It's kind of a safety net. So I've got 18 minutes I set up, and I've got it set up on a P5. That's 100% power. So I've got as much power as I could possibly get out of the Behmor, and I can check the temperature. So this right here, 129 degrees, is the exhaust temperature. And then this is the drum temperature, 131 degrees. So when we roast coffee, we're really roasting in 3 different phases. We're roasting first in the drying phase. That's the first portion of the roast where the coffee is green and then it goes to a yellow color. That's the drying phase. After that, we want to have as much power as possible, taking us up to that point. And then after that, we're going to go into the Milliard, or the middle phase. Some call it the brown phase, and this is where the coffee starts to turn color from a yellow to a brown, and this is where all of the molecular structure of the coffee bean itself actually starts to change, and where a lot of our flavors develop. So we have our acidity that is being formed through the molecular changes of the carbohydrates and the sugars, and we have the sweetness, and all of the flavors that this bean is going to give us are going to be developed in this phase. And then the third phase is going to be the actual development phase, and this is where we get our body, and this is the fullness feel of the coffee that we drink, whether it's a thin or a light, like thin tasting or feeling coffee, or a heavy, full-bodied coffee. That is in this last third phase called the development phase. The Behmor 1600 Plus has a fan that's on the side here, and that fan is just kicked on, and it is just starting to move the air around a little bit inside. Also, there is a kind of like a catalytic converter. It's basically an exhaust. It basically a smoke reducer is on the back of this unit, so you can roast this inside It will get a little smoky, so it's best to have this done with a hood fan, like over your kitchen range. Okay, at about this time in the roast, the skin of the bean that's left on there, the silver skin, is starting to flake off. And the coffee is just starting to yellow. So what I'm going to do now, just to start to move the roast along, is I'm going to press the D, which is for drum in this manual mode, and that's going to increase the drum speed. The drum is moving quicker now, and that's going to give me more air movement. It's taking it into more of a convection style of a roasting, where we've got air moving around the beans and adding that heat. In the beginning, we're actually letting the beans kind of huddle together, and we're letting those beans kind of radiate the heat to one another. But then once we get close to the dry phase, we are going to use this convection style. All right, the beans are definitely into the yellow and starting to brown just a little bit. And so now I'm going to actually slow the heat down just a little bit so I can stretch out this middle phase. I'm going to go to P4. By the way, we're at 320 degrees on our drum temperature. And increasing. I'm going to change it now to P3, back off the heat just a little bit more. And now we're getting into first crack. Just starting first crack. And so I've given more energy here just now to move it along into full first crack. Right now it's just starting. Now again, I'm not using a hood stove, so it's going to get just a little smoky in here. The way that I like to roast is to, as soon as first crack is completely finished, very quickly after that I'm going to actually remove the coffee if I were to use a real roaster. I can't do this here, and so I'm actually going to start the cool. I'm listening for crack. I'm actually going to start to go into the cooling mode when I know I'm getting towards the end of first crack, because this is going to keep continuing to roast because it's going to take longer to cool. I can't just remove the beans from the Behmor without burning myself unless I put gloves on. So I'm going to go into the cooling mode, and now the burners go off. The heat is being exhausted, but this is going to take probably at least another minute or two before the heat is low enough to stop the roasting process. I'm at 324 degrees right now. Now, I'm going to crack the door open, and that's going to let the heat out a little faster. You can start to see a little bit of the smoke coming out. And here's some chaff. And we're at 312. This is probably still going to be a little darker than I want. And so I guess that's the point. That's one of the things that I wanted to convey in this, is that it takes practice to be able to get to the exact roast level you want with the Behmor. You have to anticipate where you want the final end of your roast to be, and you have to make decisions before then, like to begin cooling your roast, even before you really want to end the roast, because it's going to take a while for it to get to that point. Still have some heat coming out, so we're just going to continue to let this breathe. (172 degrees now for the drum. Okay, the Behmor is pretty much cooled down. We're at 129 degrees internal temperature, and so that's just about enough to go ahead and stop the actual roast process here. This is a little darker than I would roast, but it still looks really good. Honey processed coffees make it look a little darker, but this is going to be delicious coffee. The Behmor gives a good quality cup of coffee if you've got some good beans. And really, so that's what you need. You need good quality specialty coffee beans. You need a decent roasting process. The Behmor does a great job at that. And then you have to have a little bit of roasting knowledge so that you know, if you're going to use the manual mode, to know when to change your heat or to add more movement with the drum. The Behmor 1600 Plus coffee roaster is a great home coffee roaster. It's definitely a much better option than a hot air popcorn popper. It's going to give you the ability to do a complete full manual roast, or you can just press a couple of buttons and it will automatically roast the coffee for you. This roaster's been around for a long time. I've had this roaster for quite a few years. It's reliable, it's been through a lot, and it keeps on working for me. So I would encourage you to consider that as a roasting option. If you have questions about anything you've seen in this demonstration, I would appreciate you to leave your comments. Let me know what you think, ask your questions, and I'll answer them the best that I can. Also, if you would subscribe to this channel, that would be awesome. Hit the like button. That tells YouTube that something good is going on here. But most important, hit that notification bell, and that way when I upload new videos, you'll be notified. So thanks for joining me here today at the Virtual Coffee Lab. I hope you have a great day.